Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? Edgeman Synergy coming to you guys here today with another deck tech. So today we're going to be taking a look at a standard deck, and it is Rug Midrange. So with this deck, we're combining the use of control in both aggro strategies, the control for cards like Syncopate, Pillar of Flame, Mizzium Mortars, and aggro for cards like Thragtusk, Huntmaster, and also Niv-Mizzet as well. So we're going to break down this deck, but before we get to that, if you guys have any suggestions for decks that you would like to see, please leave that down in the comments below. And be sure to check out the playlist down in the description where I have all of the previous deck techs that I've covered archived for your viewing pleasure. So we are going to take a look at what all we have here, starting out with the lands. So we have Steam Vents here, so blue or red, and it's a shock land. So we have a play set of them. From there, we have... oh, there we go. From there, we have Sulfur Falls. So Sulfur Falls is also going to be a play set in our build. And if you guys have any questions about these altered prints, there is a link down below to ABUGames where you guys can order some up. And you can also see the frequently asked questions about the alter process and the legality of them. So we have a play set of Sulfur Falls. From there we have Hinterland Harbor, so providing green or blue to our mana base. Run a play set of it as well. And then we have Rootbound Crag, which is red or green, and is also going to be a play set. So I think more so than anything, it's really important to have double blue for cards like Jace, Architect of Thought, and Niv-Mizzet. Once you get there, you're pretty much solid. For red, you really only need like one source of red early on, then 3 sources of red whenever you want to go into using the overload on Mizzium Mortars or anything like that. And as far as green is concerned, 1 source of green is pretty solid as well. From there, we have our utility land, which is Kessig Wolf Run, which originally started off as Desolate Lighthouse, but from there it turned into Kessig Wolf Run because we already have the elements of drawing in our deck. We have Niv-Mizzet, which lets us draw. We have Jace, Architect of Thought, which lets you factor fiction, and also think twice, so we didn't really need to keep on drawing more. I think that Kessig Wolf Run is more appropriate just because once we already have the board pretty much at a standstill where our opponent's not really doing anything and we already have our creatures out there, or at least some creatures, Kessig Wolf Run lets us use surplus mana and just win a lot quicker. So with the Kessig Wolf Run, our expectations are to just speed along the game and pretty much just win as quick as possible from the point of making a standstill for our opponent. From there we have our basics, so we have 3 basic forests. We have 3 basic mountains, and then we have just 2 islands. So 25 lands in our land base. Pretty straightforward. Not too much to think about. We're not running any fetching in the deck, so we don't really have to worry about knowing what to fetch for. The only thing is, because we run 1 set of shock lands and we don't have the outlet to run anymore, we pretty much don't really have the want to actually run Farseek, because the fixing is only going to really be for either the Steam Vents or really just to get our basics. So the fixing I don't think is really as much there as it would be if we had all the shocks. But from there we are going into our creatures in ascending order. So we have Snapcaster Mage, so we're running 2 of them in the main board, 1 of them in the sideboard, because whenever it comes up to control, we want to have another Snapcaster to be able to flash back our various spells, stuff like our counter spells, especially after siding. So Snapcaster is really nice. He gives flashback to an instant or sorcery card in our grave, so he lets us start flashing back stuff like Syncopate, which is enormously good. Pillar of Flame if we need to use it on more creatures when it comes up to matchups like zombies. Also, it lets us flashback stuff like Mizzium Mortars if we need bigger, widespread removal and stuff like that. But ultimately, Snapcaster is really good. From there, we have Huntmaster, so 2/2 for 4. Enters the battlefield, we gain 2 life, and we get a 2/2. Now, whenever a spell hasn't been played for the duration of the turn by either player, that following upkeep he's going to be flipping, so He's going to be a 4/4 on his flip side. He deals 2 damage to target creature and 2 damage to your opponent. So I think the really nice thing about Huntmaster and being able to flip is if you cast 2 spells, or well, if any player casts 2 spells in a turn, once he's on his flip side, he flips back. So with this deck, it's not hard to cast those 2 spells in that given turn, especially when we're running cards like Think Twice and Syncopate, where we're playing off of our opponent's stuff, so we can like Syncopate something that they're trying to play. Whether it resolves or not really doesn't matter. We still played our spell, and then also play stuff like Think Twice, where that's going to be our second one for the turn, and we can have Huntmaster flip back and gain us more life and make another dude. So Huntmaster is really tremendous, especially in this build where we can utilize his flip and flip back and all the shenanigans. So 4 Huntmasters. From there we have Thragtusk. So we are running 3 Thragtusk in the build. So he's a 5/3 for 5. Enters the battlefield, we gain 5 life. Leaves the battlefield, we get a 3/3. Thragtusk is just tremendous in any deck that's running an outlet for green. They're pretty much going to be running him, and I think this deck is no exception to that. Thragtusk against aggro, he really just makes anything that they're trying to do like not even relevant, because they can be swinging in or dealing damage, burning us out. We play Thragtusk, we gain 5 life. That's pretty sizable. Whenever he leaves, we get a 3/3, which is pretty good. So, I mean, even if they're board wiping using spot removal or anything like that, we still get a 3/3 back out of him. So Thragtusk is really good. I didn't really see a need to run a 4th one. He's still consistently there between all the ways we have to draw. You draw into him very easily, so 3 Thragtusks, there's no real need for a 4th one. From there, we have Niv-Mizzet Dracogenius, so 5/5 for 6, double blue, double red. And he has flying, and whenever he deals damage to a player, we can draw a card. And for 1 blue, 1 red, he deals 1 damage to target creature or player. And from there, we essentially get to draw a card. So for 2 mana, we get to keep on drawing for every 2 mana that we put in. So Niv-Mizzet is just absolutely huge. Aside from just being a 5/5 for 6 with flying, a pretty able-bodied creature, he has an ability that just makes him so worthwhile playing in this deck, because we can draw into even more creatures, more Huntmasters, more Thragtusks, or we can draw into Jace to do all the things, let us Factor Fiction and find even more answers from there, let us dig, and stuff like that. But Niv-Mizzet's just tremendous because he just gives us so much raw draw power off of him. So we're running him as a 3-of in the deck. He originally started off just as a 2-of, but I wanted to see him more consistently, so I changed it to 3, and I really like him as a 3-of in the build, so that's how I've been using him, and he's really, really good. So 3 Niv-Mizzet. From there, we have Jace, Architect of Thought, so 4 loyalty, 4 cost. +1 defends him pretty well until your next turn. Creatures that target player controls when they attack, they get -1, -0 until the end of the turn, so it's really nice. He dwindles down creatures that your opponent's attacking, makes them less threatening. -2 is the half Factor Fiction. You reveal the top 3. Your opponent separates them into 2 piles. You get to keep one. The other one goes to the bottom of your library. So you pretty much, you're going to have some benefit out of it pretty much every single time, unless it's that you're getting 3 lands where 2 lands are going to go into one pile, 1 land's going to go into another, and you're just going to get to draw 2 lands, essentially. You're still going to be able to dig, and digging is really important with a deck like this one into getting more solutions, more answers, or even just win more cards and spells. But Jace is definitely good for being able to dig. His -8 is there. I don't think it's as relevant, but if we need it, if we're really stuck on not having a win condition, the -8 is bribery, where we get to search each other player's library for a card, and then we get to play it without paying its mana cost. So we can use that bribery to our advantage, but I mean, the -8 really isn't what we're going for. The -2 is definitely what he's here for. So we're running a playset of Jace, and I have my 1 Tamiyo as a replacement slot here until I get my Jace in the mail. But the way I've been testing it has been with just 4 Jaces, and the Tamiyo, whenever I hit into her, she's just a Jace. But definitely, if you have the 4 Jaces, use them. From there, we have Garrick Relentless, so we are using 2 Garrick Relentless in the build, and I think that in a build like this one where we're not running Farseek and we don't want to use Farseek because it doesn't net us a huge amount of advantage, he's going to be more permissible than running Primal Hunter. Primal Hunter is obviously better because the tokens that he's creating are 3/3s. They're 1 power and toughness greater. He overall has better abilities because he lets us utilize drawing advantage as well, and his ultimate is really good. But in a deck like this one where we don't really have the permissibility to run a triple green Planeswalker, Garrick Relentless is just as good here, because for that 4 mana and only 1 color intensive mana of it, we're going to be able to make 2/2s just non-stop every single turn. So I think that's really good. If you get him onto his flip side, he's not bad. He lets you search for Niv-Mizzet and Thragtusk, but I think the best thing about Garrick is just making tokens. So I think that whenever you're playing against control and decks like that, if they don't get rid of Garrick Relentless, even if they start dropping Supreme Verdict Terminus on your creatures, you're still going to be able to create tokens, and you're going to be able to get there with creatures at the end of the day. So 2 Garrick Relentless, and if it was permissible, I would be running Primal Hunter, but the triple green is it's so hard to achieve unless it's really late game, and you want to play Garrick Relentless early on. So Garrick Relentless is definitely more appropriate in this type of a build. But I have tested it with Primal Hunter. It just doesn't work as well. From there, we have Think Twice. So Think Twice is going to be a 3 of an R build. So 2 mana, draw a card, flashback for 3. Good earlier on, I would say. Whenever it comes down to like turn 2, you don't do anything. At the end of your opponent's turn, you play Think Twice or flashback Think Twice. Earlier on, it lets you draw into more things. Make sure that you hit your land drops and stuff like that, which this deck is really good on that. You pretty much get all of your land drops when you need them, so I'm not worried about the mana base or getting the lands when we need them very much. From there, we have Cyclonic Rift. So 1 generic, 1 blue, return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand, and it has an overload for 7. Cyclonic Rift is really awesome for that overload cost, just because you get rid of all of their threats essentially, and you don't really have to worry about it. So, I mean, just bouncing back everything, even at the regular casting cost, it's not bad either, just for 2 mana bounce back, something that's threatening. Obviously, we're not going to be doing it with stuff like Thragtusk, where they actually get some benefit out of recasting it, but I think for more stuff like Planeswalkers or anything like that that's really threatening on the spot, we can get rid of them and not really have to worry about it. It's especially nice whenever we have a counterspell in hand, and then we can bounce something back, and even if it seems like they're like, oh, well, I'm just going to recast it and get benefit out of it, you have that counterspell in hand and you can just benefit from it that way. But Cyclonic Rift is definitely good at clearing the board whenever it comes to the overload cost. That's what we have it in here for, more so than anything else. Late game, bounce back everything, and you just win from there. Or at least, hopefully, you win from there. You should win from there if you're bouncing back a lot of things. From there, we have Syncopate. So this originally started off as Farseek in the build, but then it switched into Syncopate because Farseek wasn't doing enough. The mana fixing, well, the little bit of mana fixing that it provides is pretty good, but at the same time, even though that's acceleration, I would rather have Syncopate and not let people do things in that slot instead. So we're running a playset of Syncopate just to counter all the things. From there, we have Mizzium Mortars. So playset of Mortars. 2 cost, deals 4 damage to target creature you don't control, and then the overload for 6, which is really, really nice, especially at getting rid of stuff like Entreat the Angels tokens. And then we have Pillar of Flame, which is more or less something that we side out a lot, especially if we're not playing against stuff like zombies or anything that Pillar of Flame is relevant against. But even still, having it main board as a 4-of is nice when we do run into those decks where it is relevant. So we have the removal and the exiling that we need for stuff like Grave Crawlers, Drolf's Messengers, and things of that nature. So that's the main board. Now we're going to take a look at the sideboard. Alright, so in the sideboard, we are running 1 Blasphemous Act. So with Blasphemous Act, it's a 9-cost sorcery, which may seem really expensive, but it costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield, and it deals 13 damage to each creature. Now, With this card, we're going to be setting it in for any decks that like to use things that Mizzium Mortars is going to be out of reach with. So anything with like 5 power and toughness or greater, mainly junk. Junk is really huge. All the Armada Worms, all the Angels of Serenity, all the big things. Blasphemous Act can just get rid of it. Also, lists that I've been seeing recently that are annoying, probably the Bant decks that are using like a playset of Sigarda, a playset of Geist, and are working off of like hexproof to the point where spot removal doesn't do anything. This is Blasphemous Act is something that I would side in against those decks as well. Whenever it comes to flashing back Blasphemous Act, it's really not very much expensive, or not that much more expensive with Snapcaster, because whenever Snapcaster flashes it back, Snapcaster is a creature as well, so he's going to make it cost 1 less to actually cast. But at the same time, it's just going to be 1 more blue mana more that you have to put into it. But Blasphemous Act, whether you're casting it or flashing it back, is really good against those big decks that Mizzium Mortars can't really do anything against. But on top of using Blasphemous Act, we would be using something like Essence Scatter as well to counter their things so they can't play those big creatures. So 1 Blasphemous Act. From there, we have Snapcaster Mage. So I think he's more so sided in against control than anything else, but definitely whenever we need to start flashing back our instants and sorceries to start getting rid of stuff, he's really good. But against control, we side in 1 more whenever we need to see negates, syncopates used more and stuff like that. So Snapcaster is really good in the sideboard as well, so we have the ability to use 3 of them. I don't think we need 4 of them in total in the deck, but 3 of them is just fine. From there, we have Jace Memory Adept, so we're running 2 of him, and I really like him whenever it comes to playing against control, and I actually don't end up siding out the other Jace. I don't end up siding out Jace Architect of Thought, and I still side in Jace Memory Adept, probably over stuff like Pillar of Flame. It really depends on the build, but more times if I'm playing like control, Pillar of Flame really isn't going to do anything except like shock a Planeswalker, which isn't that enormous. But with siding in Jace Memory Adept, being able to mill 10 just every turn puts your opponent on a clock, and he's definitely really good against control. So we're running 2 of them, and also against any other slower decks, I like to use him as well. So the 2 Memory Adepts are definitely relevant. From there, we have Naturalize, so I'm running 2 Naturalize in the sideboard. This is for anything that's annoying: Detention Spheres, Oblivion Rings. You get rid of them and you get your stuff back. And I think whenever it comes to control as well, whenever you start playing with more Planeswalkers that you want to have resolving instead of your creatures being bigger threats, they start using the Detention Spheres and Oblivion Rings on your Planeswalkers, and Naturalize just gets there. You can Naturalize that enchantment, get your Planeswalker back, and use, well, like in the case of Memory Adept, you use the 0 ability again and you just mill them for more. So Naturalize is definitely really good as a 2 of. I guess you could also run Sundering Growth, but the double green is really, it's really hard, I think. I think earlier on it's a little bit harder, especially if you don't have the double green. So the single green with Naturalize is good. It also gets rid of Q runes whenever it comes down to stuff like Jund Midrange and stuff like that. So we have 2 of the Naturalizes. From there, we have Flames of the Firebrand, so we're running 2 of these. And this is more so for weenie builds, and also decks that are running stuff like Lingering Souls, Midnight Haunting, if Midnight Haunting's even being played at this point. But I think it's more so Lingering Souls. But Flames of the Firebrand deals 3 damage divided amongst 1, 2, or 3 target creatures and or players that you choose. So it's good against like getting rid of small tokens, and also against the white weenie builds, green-white humans, the black-white exalted, I guess, as well. I think green-white exalted humans is a thing, so Flames of the Firebrand can start getting rid of any creatures that are really small, especially if they're playing off Exalted, because Exalted isn't like permanent, so you don't have to worry about having a bigger widespread removal. But Flames is definitely good whenever you have to start getting rid of a lot of small creatures on the spot. From there, we have Deathrite Shaman. So with Deathrite Shaman, we're running 3 of them, and this is for Reanimator. I don't think we're really worried about zombies as much because we can start dealing with them by gaining back life with Thragtusk and Huntmaster, but when it comes to Reanimator, we don't really have an enormous amount of things that we can do, except for like probably countering with like Syncopate, countering their Unburial Rites and stuff like that. But Deathrite Shaman is probably the best resolution that we have to it, because we can get rid of the creatures that they're trying to reanimate. With his third ability, the 1 green tap exile target creature from a graveyard, and we gain 2 life. So it gains us back life, which I don't think is like really necessary. It's there when we gain back life, but I don't think that's as huge as just getting rid of a creature every time they try to reanimate something, which with Reanimator decks, they're pretty much only going to be able to use 1 Reanimator spell per turn, especially if it's early game, because they're going to be trying to ramp into using Unburial Rites. So 3 Deathrite Shaman, just huge bane to the Reanimator Frights decks. And from there we have 2 Essence Scatters for countering creatures. So we want to have the Essence Scatters to get rid of anything that's big. And then we have the Negates, which is more relevant, I guess, against control. Anything that's running a lot of non-creature stuff, we want to side in Negates. So that is the deck. So that's the main board and the sideboard for this Rug mid-range deck that I have here. So the entire list is down below, the main board and the sideboard as well, if you guys want to check it out. Remember to check out the playlist with all the previous decks that I've covered, and remember to like, favorite, and subscribe for more daily Magic the Gathering content. Until next time, guys, have a wonderful, fun-filled Magic the Gathering day.